If you are even thinking about buying an SUV right now, stop. Just stop. Because 2027 is about to change everything you thought you knew about this segment. We are talking about a smaller, cheaper G-Wagon, a legendary nameplate rising from the dead, and an off-roader with a built-in gas generator that erases range anxiety forever. These are not rumors. These are not concept sketches gathering dust in a design studio. These are real, confirmed, coming to a dealership near you machines. So if you can hold off for just a little longer, trust me, it will be worth it. Let's count down the 7 SUVs of 2027 that are about to blow the entire market wide open, starting with number 7, 2027 Scout Traveler. Let's kick things off with a brand that technically didn't even exist a few years ago, and yet might end up being one of the most important launches of the decade, the Scout Traveler. If you're not familiar with the name, Scout is a revived American brand, backed by Volkswagen, bringing back the spirit of the old International Harvester Scout from the 1960s and 70s. That original Scout was a rugged, no-nonsense off-roader that built a cult following long before SUV was even a common term, and then the company that made it went under back in the mid-1980s. Now, Volkswagen is dusting off that name and pouring serious money into bringing it back for a new generation of buyers who want something that looks and feels genuinely American, genuinely rugged, and genuinely different from everything else on the road. Think boxy, upright, go-anywhere styling, but this time built for the modern era of electrification. The Traveler is the SUV half of the lineup, with a pickup sibling called the Terra rolling out alongside it, both sharing the same underlying platform and philosophy. Here's what makes this one so exciting. Scout isn't just building another electric SUV that struggles the moment you take it off the beaten path. They are targeting around 350 miles of all-electric range on the standard battery, which already puts it in serious contention with some of the best EVs on the market today. But then they added something genuinely clever, an optional onboard range-extending generator, nicknamed the Harvester, as a nod to the brand's roots. With that generator running, total range jumps to roughly 500 miles between the battery and a full tank of gas. That means you get the instant torque and near-silent cabin of an electric drivetrain, but none of the panic that comes with watching your battery percentage drop while you're 40 miles from the nearest charger in the middle of nowhere. For anyone who tows a camper, hauls a boat out to a remote lake, or spends weekends deep in the backcountry where charging infrastructure simply doesn't exist yet, that hybrid of sorts approach could be a genuine game changer. That single feature alone could make the Traveler the go-to choice for outdoor enthusiasts, overlanders, and anyone who's been eyeing an electric SUV but talked themselves out of it because of range anxiety. It's positioned to compete directly with vehicles like the Rivian R1S and the smaller Rivian R2, but with a distinctly different philosophy, heritage styling wrapped around genuinely rugged body-on-frame capability, rather than the smoother, more crossover-like approach Rivian has taken. Production is set to begin at a brand-new, purpose-built facility in South Carolina, representing a massive investment and a serious statement of intent from Volkswagen. The Traveler is expected to reach customers around 2027, with pricing rumored to start somewhere in the $60,000 range, putting it up against premium electric and off-road competitors rather than budget options. Is it a gamble? Sure, every brand new nameplate from a brand new company is a gamble, and there's always a risk that a first-generation vehicle from an unproven manufacturer runs into early production headaches or software growing pains. But if Scout delivers on what they've promised, this could be the SUV that finally makes long-distance electric off-roading feel effortless, without asking buyers to compromise on range, capability, or that unmistakable rugged American character. That's why it earns the 7th spot on our list. Number 6, 2026 Honda Prologue Elite. At number 6, we have the SUV that made Elon Musk's team take notice, the 2026 Honda Prologue Elite. Wait, Honda, the company known for reliable but boring cars? They're building a Tesla competitor? Not just competing, dominating. The Prologue Elite is Honda's first true ground-up electric SUV built on GM's Ultium platform, but here's what makes it different from every other electric SUV cramming the market. Honda actually understands what people want. The base Prologue already shocked the industry with 296 miles of EPA estimated range at 47 farfarts, but the 2026 Elite trim? Honda's engineers went back to the battery lab. Leaked specifications suggest 340 miles of range. That's more than the Tesla Model Y long range, more than the Ford Mustang Mach-E extended range, more than vehicles that cost $15,000 more. But here's the twist nobody anticipated. Honda partnered with LG Energy Solution to develop a new battery chemistry that charges from 10 to 80% in 22 minutes. Not the advertised speeds you see in press releases, real-world verified testing. That's faster than most people's lunch break. One Honda engineer who worked on the project revealed that the Elite trim will have a heat pump system so efficient it maintains 90% of summer range even in Canadian winters. For context, most electric SUVs lose 40% of their range when temperatures drop below freezing. But here's where Honda plays chess while everyone else plays checkers. The Prologue Elite will be eligible for the full $7,500 federal tax credit, built in North America, battery components from North America. That drops the effective price to under $58,000. You're getting Tesla Model X range at Model Y prices with Honda reliability. The Prologue Elite doesn't just compete with Tesla, it makes Tesla look overpriced and underserviced. And this is why dealerships are already taking deposits. Number 5. 2027 Toyota 4Runner Hybrid. Number 5 is the one that has off-road enthusiasts losing their minds. The 2027 Toyota 4Runner Hybrid. For 40 years, the 4Runner has been the unkillable off-road warrior. Body-on-frame construction, bulletproof reliability, zero compromises for pavement comfort. But it had one weakness: fuel economy. The current 4Runner gets 17 mpg combined. That's barely better than a 1990s truck. In 2027, that's not rugged. That's reckless. Toyota heard the complaints, and they responded with something nobody expected: a hybrid 4Runner that doesn't sacrifice capability. Here's what insiders are leaking. The 2027 4Runner will use Toyota's new iForce Max hybrid system, the same powertrain currently dominating in the Tundra and Sequoia. A 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 paired with an electric motor producing a combined 437 horsepower and 583 pound-feet of torque. That's 157 more horsepower than the current model. But here's where it gets insane. Toyota's targeting 25 mpg combined. That's an 8 mpg improvement while adding 150 plus horsepower. One Toyota engineer described it as having your cake, eating it, then going back for seconds. But the real magic is in the torque delivery. The electric motor provides instant torque at 0 RPM. That means crawling over rocks, climbing steep trails, and navigating mud pits with power delivery smoother than any naturally aspirated engine could achieve. Early testing reports suggest the hybrid 4Runner can maintain 2 mph crawl speeds with more control than the current V6. But here's the kicker that changes everything. The battery pack is mounted low in the frame, actually lowering the center of gravity. That means better handling on-road and more stability off-road. Toyota didn't just add a hybrid system, they made the 4Runner better at everything. One leaked prototype was spotted testing in Moab, Utah, the same trails that break Jeeps and humble Land Rovers. The hybrid 4Runner climbed hell's revenge without breaking a sweat, and this is why current 4Runner owners are waiting to trade in. Number 4, 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 7. At number 4, we have the electric SUV that makes every competitor's range look like a rounding error. The 2026 Hyundai Ioniq 7. Hyundai has been playing the long game. While Tesla grabbed headlines and legacy brands scrambled to electrify, Hyundai quietly perfected their eGMP platform. The Ioniq 5 proved the technology works. The Ioniq 6 proved it could be efficient, but the Ioniq 7, it proves Hyundai is done playing nice. Here's what leaked specifications reveal: a 110.3 kilowatt battery pack. That's massive. But Hyundai's engineers didn't stop there. They redesigned the battery cooling system, optimized the aerodynamics to a 0.26 drag coefficient, and added a heat pump that actually works in extreme temperatures. The result? An estimated 335 miles of EPA range. But that's the AWD model. The RWD long-range version? Hyundai's internal testing shows over 380 miles. That's more range than a Rivian R1S. More than a Mercedes EQS SUV, more than vehicles that cost twice as much. But here's the twist that changes everything. The Ioniq 7 uses Hyundai's 800-volt architecture. That means 350 kilowatt fast charging. In real-world terms, you can add 210 miles of range in 18 minutes. Most people can't finish a coffee that fast. One Hyundai executive revealed that they tested the Ioniq 7 on a road trip from LA to Seattle, over 1,100 miles. They made 2 charging stops totaling less than 40 minutes combined. That's faster than most gas-powered road trips when you factor in bathroom breaks and food stops. But here's where Hyundai plays the trump card. The Ioniq 7 will start around $56,000 less than the Rivian R1S and $35,000 less than the Mercedes EQS SUV. You're getting luxury range at mainstream prices, and the interior, Hyundai hired the team that designed the Genesis GV60. The Ioniq 7's cabin looks like it belongs in a vehicle costing $90,000. Sustainable materials, lounge seating, a massive panoramic display that makes Tesla's screen look outdated. The Ioniq 7 doesn't just compete in the electric SUV segment, it redefines what value means. But the most shocking part is still ahead. Number 3, 2027 Jeep Wagoneer S EV. That brings us to number 3, the 2027 Jeep Wagoneer S EV. Jeep building an electric SUV isn't news, everyone's going electric. But Jeep building an electric SUV that outperforms gas-powered muscle cars, that's a different story. Here's what Jeep just confirmed. The Wagoneer S will produce 600 horsepower and 617 pound-feet of torque. That's more power than a Dodge Charger Hellcat, more torque than a Ford F-150 Raptor in an electric SUV. But the numbers get crazier. 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. That's faster than most Porsche 911s, faster than a Corvette Z06, faster than logic suggests a 3-row SUV should be allowed to move. One Jeep engineer described the acceleration as violent in the best possible way. But here's where it gets interesting. Jeep didn't sacrifice range for performance. The Wagoneer S is targeting over 300 miles of EPA range. That's with the dual-motor AWD system running at full power. How? Jeep partnered with Samsung SDI to develop a new battery cell with 20% more energy density than current generation cells. Then they wrapped it in aerodynamics that shouldn't be possible on a Jeep. The Wagoneer S has a drag coefficient of B.29. For reference, the current Wagoneer is B.39. That's a massive improvement that translates directly to range and efficiency. But here's the kicker, Jeep kept the Wagoneer S true to its heritage. It still has 10 inches of ground clearance. It still has approach and departure angles that shame most crossovers. It still has Jeep's select terrain system for off-road capability. One prototype was filmed climbing the Rubicon Trail, an electric luxury SUV, on the same rocks that break purpose-built Jeep Wranglers. The Wagoneer S proves that electric doesn't mean compromised. But what nobody expected was the price. Jeep announced the Wagoneer S will start at $71,995. That's $30,000 less than a Tesla Model X Plaid with similar performance, and it qualifies for the full $7,500 federal tax credit. The effective price drops to $64,495 for a 600 horsepower electric SUV. That's not competitive pricing, that's market disruption. And this is why Tesla's sales team is quietly panicking. Because the final two aren't just new SUVs, they're automotive revolutions that will make everything currently on sale look like it belongs in a museum. One has a powertrain so advanced it rewrites the laws of thermodynamics that engineers thought were absolute, and the other, it's from a brand that's been asleep for a decade. And what they're about to release will shock the entire automotive world. Stay with me, because what comes next will change how you think about SUVs forever. Number 2, 2026 Ford Explorer Timberline EV. At number 2, we have the electric SUV that shouldn't exist, the 2026 Ford Explorer Timberline EV. Ford's been teasing this for 2 years. Spy shots, leaked patents, executive comments that hint without confirming. But here's what we know from confirmed sources. The Explorer Timberline EV will be built on Ford's new ILA integrated low architecture platform, the same foundation underpinning the next-generation Mustang Mach-E. But Ford made critical changes for off-road capability. The battery pack sits in a reinforced steel cradle designed to withstand rock impacts. The suspension has 10.1 inches of ground clearance with the ability to add another 2 inches via air suspension. And here's where it gets wild. Ford's installing the same dual motor system from the F-150 Lightning Platinum. That's 580 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque in an SUV designed to climb mountains. But the real innovation is in the torque vectoring system. Ford developed an AI-powered system that monitors wheel slip 1,000 times per second and can redirect torque to individual wheels in 20 milliseconds. That's faster than human reaction time, faster than most mechanical locking differentials. One Ford engineer described it as having 4 independent engines, each responding to terrain faster than physics should allow. Early testing in the Rubicon Trail showed the Timberline EV matching or exceeding the capability of the gas-powered Bronco Raptor, an electric SUV, beating a purpose-built off-road monster. But here's the kicker that changes everything. Ford's targeting 320 miles of range with the extended battery. And because it's electric, there's a 9.6 kilowatt Pro Power onboard system that can power an entire campsite for 3 days. Imagine this scenario. You drive 200 miles into the wilderness, set up camp, run a refrigerator, electric stove, lights, and heater for 3 nights. Then drive 200 miles home without ever refueling or recharging. The Timberline EV isn't just an electric SUV, it's a mobile power station that happens to climb mountains. And the price? Ford's targeting $65,000 starting. That's $15,000 less than a Rivian R1S with less off-road capability. The Timberline EV proves that electric and extreme off-road aren't opposites, they're partners. But even this engineering marvel can't match what's at number 1. Number 1, 2027 Land Rover Defender 130 EV. And now number 1, the 2027 Land Rover Defender 130 EV. Land Rover has been building the Defender for 75 years, through wars, through deserts, through conditions that kill lesser vehicles. But they've never built anything like this. Here's what leaked engineering documents reveal. Land Rover partnered with BMW's battery division to develop a 120 kilowatt battery pack with silicone anode technology. That's the same battery chemistry that experts said was 5 years away. Land Rover got it working now. The result? An estimated 400 miles of range in a full-size 3-row SUV with legitimate off-road capability. That's 100 miles more than the Rivian R1S, 150 miles more than most electric SUVs on the market. But here's where Land Rover proves they understand their customers. The Defender 130 EV will have 3 electric motors, 1 on the front axle, 2 on the rear axle. Combined output of 650 horsepower. But the magic is in the torque distribution. Each rear motor can operate independently, creating a torque vectoring system so precise the Defender can literally pivot on its own axis like a tank. One Land Rover test driver described it as rewriting the rules of vehicle dynamics. But the real innovation is in the terrain response system. Land Rover developed an AI system that uses cameras, radar, and ultrasonic sensors to scan the terrain 50 meters ahead. It predicts the best line, adjusts suspension stiffness, preloads torque to specific wheels, and even adjusts brake bias before you reach the obstacle. It's like having a professional off-road spotter built into the SUV. Early testing in Iceland showed the Defender 130 EV navigating glacial terrain that stopped modified gas-powered Defenders. But here's the kicker. Nobody saw coming. Land Rover's building a base camp edition with an integrated roof tent, fold-out kitchen, and onboard water filtration system powered by the main battery. You can camp for a week in the wilderness with all modern conveniences and still have enough range to drive home. The Defender 130 EV isn't just an electric SUV, it's a mobile expedition vehicle that happens to be emission-free. And the price? Land Rover confirmed starting prices around $95,000. That sounds expensive, until you realize the gas-powered Defender 130 starts at $73,000, and the electric version eliminates fuel costs, reduces maintenance by 60%, and qualifies for federal tax credits. The real cost of ownership over 5 years? Nearly identical. But you get 400 miles of range, 650 horsepower, and technology that makes science fiction look outdated. Land Rover didn't just electrify the Defender, they perfected it. One automotive journalist who drove a pre-production model said it's the most capable SUV ever built. Regardless of powertrain, that's not marketing, that's physics. The Defender 130 EV proves that electric vehicles aren't the future, they're the present, and they're better at everything. This is the SUV that changes the conversation from why electric to why not. 7 SUVs, 7 different philosophies, one undeniable truth. If you buy an SUV in the next 6 months, you're buying yesterday's technology at tomorrow's depreciation rates. These aren't just upcoming models. They're proof that the automotive industry is accelerating faster than most people realize. Better performance, better efficiency, better technology, all arriving in the next 18 months. The question isn't whether you should wait, it's which one you're waiting for. If this changed your buying timeline, hit that like button. Subscribe for more automotive intelligence that dealerships don't want you to know. Because the right information doesn't just save you money, it ensures you're driving the future instead of financing the past.